I was just smiling a bit because when I was thinking of using your hands, as you say these days, people are just using their hands on the computer and think they have the experience. So now, when it comes to that, and looking at the way the pandemic has impacted education across, and by the way, by hands, it's good to read our magazine in person. It's far better than reading the digital edition. But how much of the pandemic and the impact it has had changed the way? Is it a negative thing that has happened? Or do you see a revolution that is in the process?
So, the pandemic harmed us in many ways, but it also gave us opportunities, Raj. And the opportunities, and some places, some institutions, some individuals have taken advantage of those opportunities. So I know, in fact, just before I came here, I was in a meeting where we were discussing examples of people who took advantage of the pandemic to develop good learning programs using technology. And I'll give you an illustration. So I sincerely believe that one could have a very good experience of knowledge simply by intelligently trawling YouTube. And so as an experiment in collaboration with some institutions outside Delhi during the pandemic, I created a program on understanding Alexander's journey all the way from Greece to India. And you find there's enough material on YouTube to tell you exactly what happened where on his journey. There are lots of such videos. The idea was to build learning around that. And because of the pandemic, you couldn't step out, so one had to adapt. And you had to do this online, but those who participated with me asked the right questions, looked for the answers, worked hard, and there was mentoring not just by me, but others too. And many insights developed into how Alexander came all the way to India. And many new things came out. What happened during his time? What does folk history tell us? This is history that you don't find in the notebooks, in the textbooks. All that happened at that time. And that was enormously enabling learning. Unfortunately, Raj, the problem is, so I also participated in other experiments. I noticed that a large number of my colleagues of the teaching fraternity were doing this in a non-creative, repetitive manner that would generally put our students off. I also ran a program, a credit program at K.R. Mangalam University. I'm not obliged as a chancellor, I'm just an honorary chairman of the governing body. But I wanted to sort of keep my teachers moving on this. We ran a program on climate change. And it was transdisciplinary, and you could take credit from no matter what course you were enrolled in, what degree program. And students came from different disciplines. Again, it was based on resources we were drawing from the net. Very productive, very creative. Yet I find so many school and college teachers telling me, even today I learned before I came here, teachers would put the students off to sleep. Students would just switch off the video, keep the audio on, pretend they are there, but they weren't really there, and it was total waste of time, so on and so forth. I also learned that in one institution, the first offline in-person exam that they held, the whole class failed. They had all passed in the online exam they had. All these are things which I believe are wasted opportunities. I don't think many of us grasp the power and the opportunity of technology.
Now, coming to that, and I quite agree with you, because I do remember, since you were talking about Alexander, I had gone down to Mohenjo-daro. I had a chance to visit it in person. I was a student of history, and I had gone to interview Zardari. Benazir Bhutto had just died at that time, and he was there at Larkana. And when you saw the Great Bath, and when you saw the actual structure as compared to the sepia tone photographs that we had, was a transformative experience. Now, if you take technology, and that the reason why I'm narrating this is that you can bring a lot of that, and particularly now with 3D technology and those visors and everything else that you can see, you can bring all these places or all the things right there. How much of the universities of the future should be the hybrid model where you're able to, whatever is available, great programs, The teacher then has to only be a substitute or a guide to it rather than sit and learn. How much of that is going to change the way we teach students?
It's going to change whether we like it or not, Raj. For all kinds of reasons, it's going to change. And the sooner we in India learn to adapt and understand this, the better for all of us. And technology can be a very powerful tool. If you permit me, I'll just take 2 minutes to narrate an experience. That's when I first realized the power of technology. Way back in '92, when I was just starting out in my career, I remember Doordarshan contacted me one day. I'd just returned from the US after a long spell. And somehow they reached me and they said they had just imported a satellite broadcasting technology from the US.
Yeah, site. Apple.
Yeah, and they wanted to test it. And so they asked if I would be willing to deliver 6 live lectures on 6 consecutive days on some aspect of school mathematics. I'd never done this before, had no idea of school maths, but I don't know why in a fit of madness I agreed. And I gave 6 lectures on the calculus, and I had such rudimentary technology. In the studio, there were 2 cameras, one facing me, one overhead, large cameras. And I was standing before a table which had reams of chart paper and 3 colored pens. But I took my 12 class, all of India could see me, hear me, etc. 12 classrooms were linked to me live by telephone. So they could interrupt me whenever they wanted. I couldn't see them, they could see me. And the whole country could listen to what they were asking.